I'd like to welcome you all to the Roundtable of March 22nd. And I'd like to start with a story. Amos, as he liked to be called, was born in Tuscany in 1958. And to his parents' horror, he was born blind. Well, the doctors did a little bit of surgery. They were able to produce a little bit of light in one eye. Not that he could see, but he could tell dark from light. He could see shadow. So into this world, Amos went. But Amos had a gift. It was obvious from the time he was a little boy, he could sing. He loved to sing. And in that childlike voice at that age, oh, did he sing. He won contest after contest after contest. Every church had Amos singing. Every wedding had Amos singing. He was fantastic. He sang Ave Maria about 1,000 times in the churches in Italy. And they loved him. And then it happened. Oh, it happened. He became a teenager. Every guy in this room, do you remember when your voice changed and cracked and you sounded like an idiot every second of your life? Yes, I remember very well. So did Amos. And now he couldn't sing anymore because his voice kept cracking. But he learned how to play the piano. And as he advanced in his teen years, he began playing the piano. We'll call it a piano bar. In truth, it was a dive, but it was a piano bar, and he played. And he played the piano well. And as his voice settled down in a tenor range, he began singing on weekends in this bar. And his uncle was really excited. He thought, wow, Amos is a great singer. Let me bring in the biggest music critic in Italy, and he did. And Amos sang. And the critic sat with him after he sang and said to him, you have no talent, you have no ability, your voice has no depth, it has no range. Whatever you do, don't be a singer. Why don't you get a law degree, something respectable, well, except for you, Paul, something respectable, and go out and make a living. You are not going to make it as a singer. There is no way in hell. I'm the biggest critic in all of Italy. You suck. Well, how do you imagine Amos felt at this point in time? You've just been told you have no talent, you have no ability, you're nothing. Everything you've worked for, everything you dreamed, washed away right on the spot. But he kept playing, and he went to law school. Well, how did a blind guy go to law school? Early 1970s. I remember as a kid, so does everyone in this room if you're old enough, cassette tapes. My very first technology. They brought in a local banker who read the law books, recorded them on cassette tapes, and Amos listened, and he took notes, and he went to law school. And believe it or not, he got his law degree. In all of Italy, the first blind man to ever get a law degree. And he became a defense attorney in the local courts. But caseload wasn't big, and he had to make money. So what Amos continued to do is he kept playing piano and singing in the local dive of a piano bar. And one day, ordinary man walked into the bar to tune the piano. And as he was tuning and banging away on the keys as the tuners do, Said, Thomas, I remember watching you when you were a child. You were fantastic. You were brilliant. Why are you playing in a shithole like this? Exactly what he said. And I said, well, my voice changed. And I couldn't really control my voice. I had no way to manage my voice. It just changed on me, and I lost my voice. So I'm a lawyer. And the tutor said to him, are you out of your mind? Are you insane? You see this piano right here. Before I tuned it, it sounded like crap. But when I tuned this piano, and when I got my hands on it and I tuned it, listen to how brilliant this piano sounds. Why do you think your voice is any different from this piano? It has to be tuned. You have to learn how to sing. You have to learn how to project your voice. You have to stand and talk and eat and drink music. The tutor said, I know the greatest voice coach in all of Europe, known as the maestro, Luciano Federini. Why not make an introduction? What's the worst that could happen? And he introduced Amos to the maestro. And the maestro heard him sing. And he said to him, young man, I am willing to train you, but you're going to do precisely what I say. I will teach you how to stand. I will reteach you how to breathe. I will reteach you how to sing. I will teach you how to walk. I will teach you how to talk. I will teach you every aspect of your life from the ground up, and you will do precisely what I say. Before you sing, you will shut your mouth. After you sing, you will shut your mouth. Between notes, you will respect the silence between notes, what the maestro called the music of silence. If you're willing to do that, and you get up at 7, you go to sleep at 10, and you do what I say, I will train you. Well, Amos was a bit taken back, but this was his dream. And he said yes. And the maestro trained him and taught him from the ground up how to stand, how to speak, how to live, drink, breathe, voice, and music. And Amos learned. And folks, this is the reason you never give up on your dreams. This is the reason you never lose your faith. Because when you least expect it, serendipity will walk into your life. On a very ordinary day, a very ordinary man, a piano tuner, walked into an ordinary dive of a piano bar and took a blind lawyer who had given up in his dream and turned him into Andrea Bocelli, the greatest tenor to ever walk the earth. Wow. Never give up on your dream. Which brings me to Frank Basile. I would have loved to have Andrea Bocelli sing for you today. But instead, I have someone who sang with Andrea Bocelli, who sang at the White House, who sang at the Metropolitan Opera. No, he's not a tenor, he's a bass. But we'll forgive him for this. He was also married to one of the most successful actresses in the history of Broadway, Oscar-winning Celeste Holm. This is everything you need to know about Frank Basile in one sentence, everything. When his wife took gravely ill in 2011 and 2012, he put his career on hold to do nothing but take care of it. There are some people in this world, folks, you have to root for. You just have to. This is one of them. In the last 12 years, Frank devoted his life to producing a vocal love letter to his late wife, the incomparable Celeste Hall. And he did. And it's called The Time of Nick. It is an animated musical feature film that is really nothing more than Santa Claus reimagined as an orphan teenager. But I'll tell you my review of this, and having read this entire thing, slightly longer than War and Peace, having read the screenplay, here is what I will tell you. This is the greatest story about serendipity I have ever read. And I read The Three Princes of Serendip, and this is a better story about serendipity. Someone I'm very proud to bring up today, someone I'm rooting for to succeed, and a man who is devoting himself to a great cause. Frank Basile, get up here.
I am so humbled and taken by surprise by that introduction. Good morning. My colleagues, Robert Clater, Alicia Kay, and Ashley from Renegade Animation are all here. We have a different order planned, but you go with the flow. And after I tell my story, we're going to have Alicia come up and tell you all about The Time of Nick. But one of the questions Alicia wanted to ask Robert and I is, why are we here today? What brought us here? Which is what was so beautifully stated earlier. About 22 years ago, I was reading a scrapbook that was following the pilgrimage and the exploits of and adventures of Captain Admiral Byrd, exploits to the North Pole and to Arctic Circle. And inside this scrapbook, 3 years coverage of the scrapbook, I found a little letter. And I read this letter. And here's the letter right here. I need glasses. I didn't need them at the time I read this letter for the first time. But it says, Dear Celeste, Santa Claus is the spirit of giving. The spirit that was given to us so that we could get back from our great dangers here at the poles. Santa Claus is the spirit of giving. Good luck to you. Dick Byrd, Admiral Byrd. And I read that and I thought, my gosh. I went to my wife. I said, what is this about? She said, oh, honey, I was 10 years old. She said, I figured since he had already been to the North Pole, maybe he had seen Santa Claus. So I wrote him a letter asking if he had seen Santa Claus. And this was his response to this 11-year-old girl at the time. And that never left me. Because Celeste had this infectious spirit and energy about wonderment, life, the ability to give. Her whole career was based on how can I serve through the arts. And she used to make a statement. She said, if you want to make something that's long-lasting, that will become a classic, you find something that's relevant, that needs to be said, and you say it in the best way you can. And inevitably, it will need to be repeated and repeated and repeated. That's why she did great movies like Gentleman's Agreement. So, that being said, after I lost my wife, and I met the creative team, on the very first day that they actually came to New York from Norway to New York, I happened to be in the apartment where they were using the piano, and I heard this story, and I thought, this is special. This rings and strikes a personal chord with me. A show about the prequel, where Santa comes from, and about the spirit of giving. I want to be a part of this. And I sat and I listened, and 7 months later, they hired me to help create one of the main characters in it. So that's the first reason I'm here today. Now, the second reason I'm here today is because when we finally started flushing out the script, and I guess Robert and Alicia had known about the script about the same time I did, but they opened up their school. So we brought the script from Norway and went to North Carolina. And really, I may embarrass them as much as I've been sort of put on the spot here today. The second reason I'm here today, gentlemen and ladies, is because of these two wonderful people here. When I went to North Carolina, I was amazed at what I saw. They started a school 15 years earlier so that they could raise their children and be closer to her parents, but these are world-class choreographers, dancers, singers, directors, world-class. And they had started this school, bought the land, brick and mortar, built a building, and then started to educate one child at a time, groups of children, and transform lives. And when I saw these children from age 7 to 17 and 18 performing this musical at a level that was professional level. I mean, even the 7-year-olds had a quality and a professionalism that I was embarrassed to actually, after 50 years of performing, stand there and go, I can't dance like that. I can't pick up a line that quick and memorize it. They were amazing. What you did, and I thought, these two people are extraordinary. They're gifted. Not only performers, but business people, and passionate about trying to give back. And I thought, the one thing that they can do is they can deliver. And they got behind Nick, and I thought, if you're going to get behind the time of Nick, I want to be with you guys, and I want to take this to the world. And you're the really second reason I'm here.
Thank you.
And I honestly believe if we're going to invest in something, you're not just investing in the product of Nick, in the story, and to influence lives, but you're also going to be investing in the people to get you there. It's essential. A lot of great plans never make it off the drawing room floor. And I really honestly think that if we do this, and we get involved, and we find the funds and the support and the team, that we can all stand someday. Just like that little 11-year-old girl who wrote that letter, I'm hoping we can all stand on a stage someday and receive one of these by following your dreams. We can sit there and say, thank you very much, and you're welcome. So anyway, thank you for having us here, and I'm going to turn it over to Alicia now, and I appreciate your time.
Hi. So I'm going to walk you through the project and what's going on. This is, of course, The Time of Nick, and we are an animated feature musical about the origin of Santa Claus. But why are we here? Our team is an international team. Our creators are from Norway, Los Angeles, and our producing team is from all over. We're from New York, Pennsylvania, Glendale, California is where Renegade's coming from. And so that puts us on the world stage automatically. I'm a part of this project. Frank mentioned I'm a part of this project because I have an extensive background in early childhood development with music as a conduit. And I've taught high-profile students in Los Angeles all the way to underprivileged kids here in New York City through nonprofits that I've worked with. And the underlying thing that's most important is children absorb mostly through music and through things that ignite their imagination. And that's what excites me. And through all my producing and all of the work that I've done with executive directorships and with running organizations, the two things that came together with The Time of Nick was telling new stories and igniting children's imaginations through the music. And that's why I'm a big part of this. Robert, would you like to mention why you're involved very quickly?
I'm going to steal the mic because anytime I get a mic, I'll take center stage. My name is Robert Clater. I'm that guy right there. I'm one of the producers of The Time of Nick animated film. And I'm also the adapted screenplay writer for the story. I've been in entertainment for 40 years, from the Broadway stage here in New York, all across the country, Europe, Tokyo, everywhere, and even to the Los Angeles soap operas for a dozen years. Storytelling is what I do. And the stories that really get to me, that matter to me, are stories in which characters come to life and make a difference. They have something to say. These are stories that make you think, stories that make you better. And those characters that put themselves on the line to help others do better. Those are great stories. They have staying power. The Time of Nick is such a story. You know, science tells us that our brains act the same way when we read a fictional story, a fictional character, or when we meet a person. It's the relationship that matters, the relationship to the character. Well, what character do we have the most relationship with, just about of any? From the time you were all knee-high, you've been hearing and interacting with Santa Claus. Young lady, 11 years old, writing, you must have seen Santa Claus. And you grew up with him. What a relationship. Many of you are parents or uncles and aunts, and you have told Santa stories. You have a relationship with Santa. And because of that, retail sales, retail stores count on that relationship every year. Is that not true? Yeah? They count on that relationship. Our story of Nick, the Time of Nick, is unique because there have been many a Christmas story, right? But many of them talk about the side characters, the tertiary characters. There's Buddy the Elf. There's Rudolph. There's our Grinch over there. But they don't talk a lot about the main course, Santa Claus. Now, yes, I loved Tim Allen's movie. Great. But he was the next Santa Claus, right? The Time of Nick starts with a young boy. He is the very first Santa Claus. It's what the lore comes out from. That's special. That's a relationship. But we've gone a step further from that. We have surrounded him with a world that looks like our world today. We have spread a blanket that welcomes all kinds of people not seen before in a Santa story. All lines of the spectrum, all people of all backgrounds and colors. It's a wonderful tapestry. And why? Relationships. Relationships matter. And people want to see themselves on the screen. Kids want to see themselves on the screen. It matters. Representation matters. All of us are here today because we want to make a difference. The Time of Nick, Santa, you, me, even if we don't have magical powers, we can make a difference today. The Time of Nick is that difference. Thank you. Lisa?
Thanks. Ashley, would you like to quickly say why you're part of this project? Ashley represents Renegade Animation. We'll get that in just a second.
Thank you. Yes, I represent Renegade Animation, a company I founded 32 years ago to create wonderful stories and to connect with audiences worldwide. We are LA-based, as she mentioned, and we came on board on this project for many of the same reasons that have already been cited, and I don't need to repeat them. But for us also, we saw something that was absolutely calling to us in terms of bringing it to life in animation. reaching kids, reaching families through our art form, hand-drawn animation, and a proven art form in the marketplace. So we were excited to come on because of the script, because of the characters. We've got elves, we've got animals, we've got people, we've got all of those things, blowing snow, animated wind, all of those wonderful things that our artists can really sink their teeth into. And let's talk about those artists. We have a world-class team of traditional animators. We are, every day we work on characters like Tom and Jerry and the Looney Tunes, and we've done the Disney princesses, and we have a show on Nickelodeon for preschoolers right now called Bossy Bear. So we have a lot of experience caring for the legacy characters that people know and love, and we want to create a new set of characters for them to know and love, and we found them in the script, and we're thrilled to be on board. We know how to do this. We do it all the time, so you would be in good hands, and I promise you the movie will be amazing. So that's Renegade Animation's reason for being here.
Thank you, thank you. You can put the microphone over there. I'm not going to use it. Okay, so that's who we are. That's who we are. Now let's talk about who Nick is. The wonderful thing about this film, the wonderful thing about Tickers, is that it is a fantasy, romance, and an adventure. It's all those things wrapped into one. And of course, we're here looking for funding or investments to make the film itself, the animated film. So we're very quickly, I'm going to show you the initial images of the characters. It's not animated yet, but it is the initial concept art behind it. We're going to talk about the journey here briefly, why do it, and I'll give you a little bit of the storyline, and then we're going to talk return on investment. So let's take a look at some of these characters, shall we?
How we stay so happy? That's no secret. In an orphanage run by elves, everyone belongs. Books of magic line the shelves and write out number one.
Write down the wrongs, that's right.
This is just what I need. A change of scene from peculiar to kinda strange. Which way should I proceed?
You turned a common hickory stick into my closest friend. When I play and pretend, he's just what I always wanted.
I'm home at last. Lord Steele is back in town. In spite of all that time away, still looking fit. I'm gonna turn your fortunes upside down.
Is that who I am, and is that what I want? Was I born to be swept away?
I've got to shine the light inside me for the world to see. I will make a difference wherever I roam. The dream of an outcast in search of a home.
I'm going to be wearing that Santa outfit. This is the characters that we're talking about, characters that are infectious, characters get inside of you, and characters that the children can identify with. But in our story, they're going to want to be Santa rather than want something from him. So let's talk about the adventure. We gave you a little bit. We started in Norway. That's where the original creators are from. And we have done workshops in New York, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Norway. And in that process, we have had such amazing talent as Tony winners Lilius White and Paul Kreppel. We've had Emmy winner Bette Sussman, and Broadway and TV stars Damon Gillespie and Robert Cuccioli. And you heard the wonderful Frank Basile singing as Lord Steele on our example just a few minutes ago. So you did get to hear him sing today. So we have had remarkable talent part of this project all through the development phase. But why do it in all those places? Demographics, market. I want to make sure that we are in the right market for all the spectrum. I don't want just the little guys interested. I want everybody interested. So we check, of course, the Bible Belt. Then you take a look at New York. Then you look at Norway to make sure that we're a world market. So the children love the fantasy. They love the fantasy of Nick and Elves and the adventure of Maddie and Star. Maddie's the little girl getting the horse in the images. The teens love the romance. They were all about that. The romance between Nick and Holly and the adventure race up Devil's Horn. Trust me, that's going to be a video game. And then the parents love the discovery because it's the nostalgia that we intertwine the old with the new. We do not wipe anything out. That would be wrong. We take what our grandparents grew up with and we intertwine it with the new philosophies and new concepts so that we don't dismiss anything, but we certainly do create a new adventure for everyone involved. History of the jolly old elf. Let's talk about that really quickly. He started with St. Nicholas in 280 AD. He was from Turkey, or what would be modern day Turkey, and he was the protector of children. Love that. But he was envisioned and created mostly from Sinterklaas, is what the Dutch called St. Nick when they came over. That was the nickname. And the night before Christmas and Harper's Weekly, believe it or not, were the first places that gave him an image. And it was, of course, Coca-Cola and Macy's that gave us the commercialization part of it. I'm not mad at it. We're here to make some money. I don't have an issue at all. I'll take a toy any day. So this is the jolly old elf. But it's been 143 years, guys. 143 years since those images were put together. It's time to update it. Why is it time to update it? Because kids today grew up with technology. They don't know a world without this guy. They don't know it. The kids do this faster than I do. So they grew up with technology. They grew up with pop rock music. They grew up with the wailing guitar we have in our soundtrack. They grew up with Siri, asking Siri for questions, and they're inquisitive and smart and quick, and they look for Easter eggs, and we have Easter eggs all through our show so that they can keep going back and watching it again and again and again and again and again, as children do. But every time, again and again and again, that's a dollar sign. So we have a 21st century Santa. We have a modern hero that is determined, and he discovers who he is while you discover who he is during the course of the show. The other thing cool about him is we're excited that Nick is going to be a person of color, as the initial St. Nicholas came from Turkey. We have a no-nonsense, independent leading lady. She's a business owner. She's not there for the romantic story, although there is romance in there. She ends up helping solve the problem with her business savvy and independent thinking. We have diversity, equity, and inclusion, not because it's PC, but because Santa's for the world. He's for every child. So we have representation all the way across the map. You can see yourself in different elves, in different looks, in different flavors. That's important because I'm interested in the world market, not just America. We answer questions, whys and hows, and he is a story for today's families. So let's take a look at that story. I'm going to give you a little piece. We start out with the North Wind. A lot of wind going on here. The North Wind is a character in the Christmas lore in Norway. But the North Wind starts representing the spiritual side, sort of the mystical side of our story. The North Wind mystically and magically drops a baby down a chimney to be raised by elves. At an elfinage, so to speak. And at the elfinage, the baby is raised by a wonderful family of elves, including Alfie, the oldest and wisest elf. He's 300 years old, by the way. Jolly, who's not so jolly right now. Tinsel, who's everybody's favorite, by the way, in the Gen Z situation. And then we get to Tickle Me, and Snicker. These are our primary elves that everybody's going to get to know. And I tell you, action figures are coming. So Nick grows up and he realizes that there's elfism, that the elves are exiled. They're not allowed in the village. And he doesn't know why, but he wants to shine his light and make a difference. So he wants to go out and make a difference. As he travels, the North Wind leads him to the village. And at the village, he discovers that the villagers blame the elves for burning down the mill 18 years ago. Later in the story, we find out who really burned down the mill. But once he gets there, suddenly the 8:15 train comes in. The 8:15 train seldom comes through town. But suddenly, bolstering out of the bakery is Holly, the girl of Nick's dream. He saw her in the forest while he was growing up. And he is enamored with her. Coming off the train is Lord Steele and Garbanzo. They're nefarious grifters with no good in mind, but they want to try to make a fortune in town. Then you have Maddie. A young girl gets off the train. She's a runaway, happens to be Mrs. Fairfield's niece and Holly's cousin. She's hoping to live with her aunt in town. That's our primary characters. The lore unfolds as we go through this. You discover things all the way through it. So, for example, when Nick first sees Holly, he's so amazed, he stops time. He doesn't know he can stop time. And he sings, it may take a lifetime to know her. Stopping time, of course, is come into play later. How does he get around all night? How does he do that? When he sees Maddie, he realizes that he can tell what someone wants to bring them joy. He sees her and immediately knows what she's going to want. He quickly whittles her a horse and gives it to her, and she exclaims, "It's just what I always wanted," and names the horse Star, which, again, will come into play later in the story. Lord Steele and Garbanzo can't seem to get the town of positive means, so they try to burn down the bakery. Holly's inside. Nick rushes in to save Holly, and the north wind puts out the flame. But during all this commotion, Lord Steele and declares that Nick is the one that lit the fire. There's all kinds of commotion, and this ignites an ancient curse. The curse is that the town is going to be engulfed in snow and destroyed if the right person doesn't climb Devil's Horn and place the object that means the most on the top of a tree there. Will Nick pass the test? The elves tell Nick he's the one that has to go up the hill or up the mountain because he is the son of the north wind, sort of how he flies. And they give him a special coat that's red that will protect him. Red is his color, you know. Holly, will she save the forest? Will Lord Steele prevail? Will the elves be saved? All of that comes into play, and you'll find out once you back this film. So the heart of this story is important. Relationships matter. It isn't just action and events, even though the action's pretty cool. But it's the heart of the story. Nick and Holly is a partnership wrapped in love. It isn't just a romance. It's actually friendship-based and partnership-based. They're equals. Nick and Maddie represent the joy of giving, what Frank was talking about. It's the heart of the Santa purpose. Nick and Alfie represent chosen family. He's raised by an adoptive family. He's the child of North Wind, but the elves raise him. And Mrs. Fairford and Garbanzo are side characters that I didn't talk about much today, but they represent second chances. Second chances at love, second chances at life. It's important that second chances are in there. So the heart of this show is the relationships. Let's talk about how you can be part of this film. I'm hoping in about an hour we'll be shaking hands and be lifelong partners. That's what I'm looking for today. So the budget's $30 million and some change, if you want to call it that. But this is a fiscally responsible budget that sits right where the quality is going to be absolutely phenomenal, and I'll show you in a minute how the returns tend to be. But this is not a ballooned, inflamed thing. This is a budget that will give you quality and the best bang for your buck, and Renegade can deliver that. So look at returns. Migration is only a year out. It's only been out a year, and it's already tripled its investment. We are right in the pocket of a lot of these shows. Now, I didn't put in some of the shows that like to, do like a $120 million budget, because that is the inflated budgets that have come mostly from studio expenses that we're not going to have. But these are the basic returns on investment. And remember, a Christmas show is year after year after year. We're looking to create a tradition. We're looking to create something that's going to continue on and on and on. And you'll be the heroes of every child and family that you know when they go, "Wait, you brought us Nick?" Merch can dwarf box office sales. And I believe in the merchandise opportunities for this. I've already got children in Pennsylvania biting at the bit to get the elves. Total toy revenue in 2022 was $107 billion. 34% of that happens during the Christmas season. We all know that Christmas is the time that brings in the most money. And that's when people put aside their funds for toys. I put up a few films here that will be in the packet that I have available for you. But film, Frozen, for example, brought in $2.694 billion in box office. But let's look at retail a minute. $10.58 billion. It's Frozen. And I included shows specifically that also have a musical theater component because our show started as a stage musical. So it's ready. It is ready to go. It can either roll out with the start of the film or it can roll out tours and national afterwards. But I'm telling you, kids do these shows year after year after year. And I work with children's theater. I'm telling you, once they get wrapped up in a character, it's there forever. And the songs are infectious. So this is other marketing possibilities that happen with the Time of Nick. Is you have the merch, you have the theatrical, streaming, all sorts of possibilities, and it's not going to grow old. We're looking for a sole investor of the entire package. 30 million plus the change would be our preference, but we're certainly okay with $5 million increments so that we can build and grow into the investment. We will have 100% return plus 15%, and then we go into share pro rata. That's the plan. Nick is a character that needs to be out there. Like I said, this is the character you want to be and you want to emulate. And it gives us an origin story of the character. Just ask Marvel if origin stories work. That's what they want. That's what they're looking for. And right now, Santa has not been re-envisioned in quite a while. And I love this. And yes, that's the Northern Lights. They're set off when he wins the test. He wins the test by putting Star on top of the tree. Cool. Super cool. And so the Time of Nick coming soon. Thanks to you, coming soon. So I have some packages for you. I mean, some further information that you can take with you if you're interested, if you'd like it. Any questions? We are happy to answer questions for you. I did all of it? We did it? Oh, you're wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.